Good evening, and welcome to Creative Broadcasting, the station of unlimited possibilities, presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate professional by day, entrepreneur by night, four-time best-selling author, owner and creator of Creative Broadcasting, and co-founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP. Tonight we have an amazing special guest by the name of Thomas Johnson Bean. A little bit about him. Thomas Johnson Bean is the founder and president of the Life Group. Legacy Insurance and Financial Education is what Life Group stands for, as well as an avid investor and entrepreneur. As a financial advisor, he achieved numerous industry milestones while growing a team of insurance agents and mentoring advisors nationwide. Among his most significant career achievements are the countless professionals he's personally coached to help their clients accomplish their financial goals. Thomas is best known for the relationships he builds with each member of the Life Group and as the author of the Life Changers book series. Thomas grew in his career from insurance agent to financial advisor to a life coach, which he firmly believes should be the ultimate goal of every advisor. Establishing good relationships with clients, overseeing the growth and development of their financial well-being through entrepreneurship, and helping them lead lives they desire while building meaningful legacies are all essential elements of life coaching. Thomas resides in Charlotte, North Carolina area, so the Life Group manages client relationships throughout the United States. He advocates the importance of setting financial goals and saving money early on as both a public speaker and mentor to advisors and life coaches nationwide. Welcome to the table, Thomas Bean.
Hey, thank you for having me.
You are welcome. You have such an amazing bio. And so would you please tell us more about your entrepreneur journey?
Yeah, love to. So first of all, I just appreciate you bringing me onto the show and welcoming me to the fold. And nothing better than speaking with a fellow like-minded entrepreneur.
Yes, you are welcome. And you're doing some amazing things in the community, and you're just doing some amazing things. So I'm just happy to have you at the table to share some of your wisdom and knowledge with my listeners.
Absolutely. Well, my journey got started about 15 years ago. I knew early on what I wanted to do. I didn't know how I was going to do it. So it was one of those stories where you kind of have passion with no true purpose or path. But the passion was burning in me to own my own, build my own, start my own, and help a lot of people do the same. There was something that at an early age kind of rubbed me wrong when it came to the idea of corporate, I don't want to say servitude, but being inside of a corporation and being another cog in the wheel. I wanted to blast forth with a journey that I thought would be rather unique, and I wanted to kind of clear my own path in doing so. So I went to Davidson College. I'm originally from Philadelphia, came down to the South, went to Davidson College on scholarship. I graduated early because school didn't agree with me. So I kind of put my full focus behind every class, and I graduated in 3.5 years. But about a year before I graduated, I was already working with network marketing company, already doing sales in insurance, working commission-based. And from that point on, became a financial advisor. From that point on, kind of grew in my career, built teams, started helping people nationwide, other advisors as I gained more, kind of became at a veteran level in the business. And then I left. 10.5 years was my first firm. I left. There was something, once again, that was rubbing me wrong. I went from being 100% commission and being very convicted about owning my own path to almost becoming a company man, because as you rose up the ranks, you get these titles and you get this recognition, and you become more of a staple, and they want to give you a salary so you can do more but with less freedom. So October 2015, I decided to part ways with that firm and go back into the ocean, get my sea legs back. And I became managing director of another firm after they pulled me back out of the entrepreneurial waters. And Did that for about a year and a half, and finally went back to my first love, which was the Life Group, Legacy Insurance Financial Education, and building a team around business owners.
Amazing. I mean, you pretty much created your own seat at the table. I love it. So you you are the founder and president of the Life Group, Legacy Insurance and Financial Education. So tell us more about your company and how we can, purchase your services and how we can support.
Absolutely. So a staple of my company that I hold in high regard, unlike any other, is that we have no employees. Every single person that we work with is a partner, from my relationship manager to the attorneys that work with us, the community organizers, the real estate advisor, my marketing director. Everybody actually is their own business owner in that business. Because of that, we come together as a very powerful group of entrepreneurs who are teaching, helping, and working with other entrepreneurs and business owners, and we're doing it from a position of strength. Every single person is working in their areas of core competency day in and day out. So you don't have to second guess what kind of information you're getting or the level of expertise that we have. Almost everybody in the Life Group has 10 or more years of experience, and that mattered to me in a day and age where there are so many gurus and overnight successes that come down the pipe, and people are taking advice from folks who may not necessarily know as much as they profess. They have results that, are based in maybe 4 or 5 months of work. I wanted people who had results based in at least 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years of work. So that's how we came together. It's genuine business partnerships under one umbrella so that we can have a bigger brand to represent the interests of all, of the whole. And then you can find us at thelife-iwant.com, which is the site to our boutique firm. The online courses that we've devised and the online content that we're putting out, I realized I had to build another arm of our firm. So lifechangersbank.com is the arm that does nothing but online content, financial education. It's got a monthly membership model. So for $21 a month, you can be a part of the monthly updates with our master classes. You have access to an entire community that's dedicated to helping you with growing your business, facilitating the process of leaving corporate America, making that transition, and learning more about your finances.
Well, I want to commend you for creating that space. I mean, those are amazing things you're doing, because a lot of people are just not financially educated, in general, not just with life insurance, but just with their finances, with managing their money, which is the next question I have, because I know that you're very passionate about setting financial goals and saving money early on. So tell us more about your passions and some of the strategies that you teach your clients on how to be better with their finances.
Yeah, absolutely. My first book, the first book that I wrote, I published it in October of 2018. It's called Life Changers: 4 True Lies About Your Money. Last month, it went Amazon bestseller in personal finance. I put a lot of attention to detail and a lot of sources in that book. One of the main reasons is for the number of years, over 14 years being in financial services and 15 years in business, people are being lied to. And I couldn't justify saying it another way. Like, I wanted to say, hey, 4 truths about, your money, or the ideas, the myths about your money, but I don't think there's any word in the English language as powerful as lie, because everybody knows what it means up front. It means deception. It means the wool being pulled over your eyes. And if we look at the American dream and we peel back the layers of what it entails, there's several different ways of going about achieving financial freedom, and almost none of them have anything to do with locking your money away until you're 59 and a half with the hope of retiring with a 401k that's entirely taxable. None of them have to do with buying a home as early as possible so that you can pay a mortgage and hopefully pay that home off as quickly as possible. Because the idea of having property should be to cash flow properties, not to have a mortgage and one day have a paid off home, which acts more as a liability than an asset. It doesn't have to do with having one genuine career path, which you're beholden to and potentially enslaved to because you have all of your benefits and you're entirely committed to it. And it definitely has nothing to do with debt, which is something that I tackle head on. So when I talk about saving money, I'm trying to get people away from this idea that they have to give their money to the institutions and to the paths that have been carved out for them that really say, it seems like it's in your best interest. You're being told these are in your best interest, but there's so much attention that we give to having a higher credit score, but nobody is giving people a great score for having $500,000 in the bank and on so many people, because the main reason that 2008 took a significant toll on the middle and lower classes was that the majority of the wealth in those classes was tied up in real estate and the fact that people had no savings. They had investments before they had savings. They had 401k before they had savings. So now you have people with robust 401ks, which is not saving money, and they're still living check to check. A 401k is a long-term plan that should be considered far after you have the foundation of your personal finances cemented.
Wow. So when we were talking about financial management, and, a lot of people, like I said, are not that financially educated as we think they are, it's a difference between good debt and bad debt. So let's talk about that, right?
Absolutely.
Can you elaborate on that?
So I wrote another book. It's more of a guide. It's called Reclaim Your Money, The Debt Blueprint. And I talk about the fact that debt should almost always be viewed through the lens of you being a business owner. A business owner, an entrepreneur, they look at debt as a means to become more profitable. It's a revenue tool. It's not a tool for succumbing to the pain and stress and worry of being beholden to somebody else for an obligation that you have to go out and create income yourself to pay back. When I talk to a lot of business owners, they don't care about being in debt because the debt that's on their balance sheet usually adds up to an overall asset because they're using it for things like payroll, acquiring appliances, material goods, making sure that they have enough money to in the bank to buffer maybe 2 or 3 payroll obligations down the road, or even cutting bigger deals and expansion, taking out loans for commercial properties. I mean, they're doing things with those funds if they're going to go into debt to ensure that they have a surplus of revenue that's going to come from it. When you look at consumer debt, it's almost entirely a bad deal, and it's almost always a bad deal for not only the consumer, but an amazing deal, which if we could be on the other end of the negotiating table, if we weren't usually kind of at a bad end of the negotiations because we want something more than we actually need it, we would see that, getting a credit card out at an 18% interest rate is just, it's nonsensical. Buying a car, putting $5,000, $10,000 down and having a depreciating asset that we take out a loan for 5 years, that's a horrible deal.
Right.
And the people who are getting, even 4 and 5% interest rates on those, it still turns out kind of like a raw deal. It's bad. A 30-year mortgage that people are refinancing for 15 years because they want to pay it off faster. Well, if you look at the actual table of, paying off that debt and the stuff that you can do with that money if you kept the 30-year mortgage, a longer mortgage is almost always better because paying down a home, if you're not using it to cash flow, instead you're using it just to have a sitting asset, is not good because once it's paid off, you're probably going to tap into the equity of the home to do repairs and what have you, but you're not going to tap into it to make more income. So we talk about this idea of bad debt and good debt, but the problem is one of the lies, the fallacies, is we've been taught that there's so many things that are bad that should look good. And it's hurting mostly people in middle and low class America.
And I'm glad you broke that down because, people think if it's debt, that it's always bad debt, right? It's a difference between the two. And for listeners who are listening, I really hope you took those nuggets in to really know the difference between good debt and bad debt. So, Thomas, what do you think the number one cause is for poor management of money? Because I can tell you my opinion on it, but I want to know yours.
Sure. So I tell my clients all the time, the reason that financial advisors are handsomely paid for giving financial advice is because of what happened in the 70s and 80s. Before that point, financial advisors, what I was doing, my job, was never to become wealthier than my clients. There's an old kind of analogy. It goes, a guy was walking in New York. He was walking down by the waterfront, and he sees all these yachts. And he's talking to a guy, and he says, "Man, these are some beautiful yachts." And he says, "Yeah, so where are all the clients' yachts? These are for the advisors." And it's this idea that we're going up against is that Wall Street manufactured ways to make money off the middle class that were never supposed to be. It had nothing to do with traditional money management. They found ways with the loophole in the 401k plan to bundle things the same way that they did with collateralized mortgage obligations, the same way they did with these derivatives, to ensure that they would always have an expansive way of capitalizing on people who didn't know what investments were. An investment in stocks, it was never supposed to be anything more than outpacing inflation. It wasn't a get-rich-quick scheme. That's why you have older investors, even the Warren Buffetts of the world, who care a lot more about the dividends and the preferred stocks than they do about, the quote-unquote sexy stocks and cryptocurrencies and dot-com stocks. He never cared about those things because he was raised in a time period where it meant a lot to have stability in your investment portfolio. It meant a lot not to take substantial risks. America made risk sexy. They made risk the norm. And they even made risk so normalized that even bad mutual funds and bad investments became worthwhile just for somebody to say, "I'm invested." People were so interested in being invested, they stopped caring about what they were investing in. And that's why you have 401ks that hurt so very many people, because they were putting the money in, and as long as they felt they were part of the overall macro economy, they didn't really care about the underlying funds. So you had mutual fund managers who were getting paid 3 and 4 and 5 different ways off of a person being invested one way. So if you ask me kind of what I think the underpinning ideal is that's hurting so many people, it would have to be the bundling of information by people who knew that they were in power and knew that they could take advantage of that power and force-feeding it to Americans as if it should be normal behavior. When it comes to your money, there's nothing normal about it. You have to take control of your balance sheet at all times.
So what are some strategies that you would give the listeners who are struggling with setting good financial goals?
The starting block is financial organization. Sadly, we've gotten away from being prudent about our finances by just knowing that there's a monthly budget that you can really adhere to. One of the things that gets me every single time is when somebody came to my office and they knew exactly how much money they were going to make every single month. Every 2 weeks, they knew how much money was going to hit their paycheck. And they would look at me and say, "I have no idea why I'm in so much debt, but it's crippling me." Now, it'd be one thing if you thought, okay, well, people can get behind, right? It's another thing when you realize that the majority of my 15 years in financial services, I was working with retirees. These weren't people who just got a job and 3-4 months in, they were saying, "Hey, I'm behind on some bills." These were people who, for the most part, had careers for 20, 30, and even some coming up on 40 years, who were looking at me and saying, "I've known how much money was going to hit my bank account for years and haven't been able to take it to control my debt or really take control of my finances or wrangle in the spending." And I think that's when you see how out of control we are in our money management. The idea of financial organization is almost like a financial junk drawer. It's this idea where we have put almost all of our finances in such a state of disarray by throwing all of our money together. Our income goes in, our assets go in, our debt goes in, and rarely do we even open up the letters that we're getting or answer the phone calls from the creditors that we have. Like, we're just not addressing being organized in our finances. If we clean up that junk drawer, well, now we're going to know where to actually find the money for a vacation, or find the money to put towards retirement, or find the money to start a business. But if you have all your finances just in this proverbial junk drawer, you can't break it down and get organized enough to ever really make meaningful progress. And that's part and parcel the plan. The plan is to keep you in such a state of chaos that you never truly take control of your finances. And that's what the advertising, the marketing, the credit cards, that's why once you pay off a credit card, they instantly raise your credit limit. It's this idea that you can have more, but having more is almost always to your detriment and to the benefit of the corporations who you're going in debt to.
And your clients were just retirees that you were dealing with. And do you think the reason why their money was so out of control, was it because of fear, or they didn't want to control it? Was it laziness, or they just didn't know how to get it, together? Because, I mean, they knew what was coming. It wasn't like it was a new person that was new to managing money or didn't have, any money. They knew what was coming in their account every month.
I think we really have to look at the idea of what they were sold on. If you look at over any 10-year period, 96% of mutual funds that are out there underperform the S&P 500. If you look at the layers of fees, there's over 17 different possibilities of fees that can be layered into a 401k plan. If you look at the kinds of guarantees that demographic was being given, they had Social Security, Medicare, the safety net of 401ks, along with pensions, defined benefit plans, which are going out of style, right? So they had all of these things that they thought they could bank on, but what they didn't realize is that the people who put all these guarantees in place could snatch them away at any given period. On top of the fact that this was an entire demographic of super savers. They were saving money, but if you save money, I don't care how much you save, if you save it in the wrong place, it's going to hurt you. The number one age group that's going into bankruptcy right now, the fastest, are retirees.
Wow.
Consider that when you look at the fact that these are the people who saved money at a higher clip, and they did more when it came to looking at their overall investments and being conservative, because their parents came out of the Great Depression. Their parents came out of eras where they had to be frugal. So if you think of that generation and what they went through, and then you fast forward and look at what the millennial generation and Gen Xers are probably coming up against, we're saving money at far less a clip than what the baby boomers did and what the retirees of today did. So if they're the ones that are going into bankruptcy because of nursing home costs and long-term care, then what shot do we have? This is why I harp on saving so much and being organized. Because if you don't know where the money's going, then you really don't have a shot.
So for our listeners that are listening, these are some awesome nuggets he is sharing. So make sure you know the difference and make sure you're saving it in the right places too. And I found that very interesting, Thomas, what you said about the retirees going into bankruptcy, because, I feel like they, like you said, they were super savers and they were very comfortable, right? And the difference between them and us is we're creating our own seats and building our own. Do you not agree with that?
Absolutely. So what I tell people all the time, 30 years ago, if you sat down with me and I was your financial advisor, the way that financial advice was being given out was that I was going to tell you that this is your retirement number, right? We've seen the commercials, right? People carrying around their number. The problem is that 30 years ago, smartphones didn't exist, right?
Right.
So if a potential $150 to $200 monthly obligation didn't exist, then you didn't know how to calculate your number because you couldn't factor in technology. What's going on now is that the baby boomers we're seeing today, Medicare doesn't take care of long-term care costs. And if you get on Medicaid, it does take care of some of those costs, but you have to basically be indigent. You have to be poor to qualify for Medicaid. So imagine a $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month bill that 30 years ago it didn't exist because people, your family members took care of you.
Right. Right.
If you were to become elderly and get sick, your daughter, your great nephew, the family gathered around and put you in a house, or they put you in a room off the side of the home, or they had caregivers come in the home and help out. They had family take care of you. We not only have some of the priciest and costly care that's going on that nobody, even insurance companies, have gotten out of the business of selling a lot of long-term care products because the actuarial tables are almost always wrong. So what I try to get people who are our age to understand is if that's what that generation is up against, and now we're creating medicines to help us live longer, not be healthier, but live longer, which means we'll probably go from having a potential 3 to 4 year average period of long-term care to maybe a 7, 8, 9 year period of needing that kind of care when we're that age. You can't justify putting, $1 million away when you have 9 years at potentially $12,000, $14,000 in the future per month needing care. Like these are some of the things when I talk about saving money and just having a true prudent plan for your future. I think there's a misrepresentation of what it means to retire, first of all. Second of all, what it means to actually take ownership of your business of handling your finances. You can't put that business in anybody else's hands.
Right. Which is why I want to talk about life insurance now, because nobody wants to talk about life insurance, right? But we need to talk about it. We need to understand the benefits of life insurance because there's a lot of GoFundMes when people passing because people are not taking it seriously. They're not financially educated. And then when the relative dies or something happens, you want to go ask everybody else to pay for it. So can we talk more about that and really educate our listeners on that and how we need it and the different benefits that life insurance has?
I'll say this. Life insurance, I want to start off with this because I don't want anybody to miss it and I start rambling on, right? Life insurance is the most powerful wealth creation tool to ever be created. It is single-handedly the most powerful. If there was a nuclear holocaust right now, roaches and life insurance companies would survive it. And people don't see it that way. People see life insurance as being a bill, something that they can't afford. Often it's put last. It's not prioritized in financial planning for a lot of people. Bitcoin is sexy, but having a life insurance policy isn't. Right. But I want you to understand this, and I want our listeners to hear this. People who have high incomes, there is a dedicated life insurance planning scenario that's set up for them called a SLIRP. It's a Supplemental Life Insurance Retirement Plan. That's what it stands for, SLIRP. They would rather put their money into a life insurance vehicle than a 401k or even the Keogh plans and the SEP IRA plans that they have access to. The reason being is because you can put money inside of life insurance policy. The cash value will grow tax deferred. You can take money out, your principal that you put in, tax free, and it leaves a tax-free benefit lump sum to your beneficiaries. And you're getting all those things for pennies on the dollar of a lump sum that's a future promise. And how powerful is that? Now consider this. If you put money into a 401k, let's say at $500 a month, and then you retire at 65 and you have, let's say, $500,000, well, that $500,000 is going to be taxable. If you put $250 into your 401k, and you split costs with your siblings. Let's say you have 2 or 3 siblings. You split costs with your siblings, 3 siblings. So now you're taking that other $250, and they take that as well, $750, and you buy a guaranteed $1 million, $2 million, or $3 million policy on your parents to ensure that when they pass away, you're not just left with a funeral policy, but you're left with real wealth that's tax-free. That's a seismic shift. That's a paradigm shift in thinking about money. And it's not morbid at all to consider if my parents are healthy, I would much rather have a life insurance policy, because when I turn 65, even if they're still alive, they're 90, 95 years old, well, I have the cash value that I have access to that could be non-taxable. And if they do pass away before then, because death is inevitable, right, well, then that's a lump sum of wealth that I don't have to even think about taxes being paid on. Like, this is real wealth creation ideology, but those concepts are kept from middle and lower class people, and we are sold on the idea of 401ks or IRA plans and putting our money in places where, honestly, we have to give a good cut right back to Uncle Sam once we start drawing from it.
Right. So why do you think we are, that we're not as educated as we should be, because that's a big gap. So what is your company doing to close this gap?
Everything starts with education, and the reason it has to start with education is because the system of miseducation is real. You can't discuss systems of slavery and know that they were fact, and then discuss systems of miseducation and believe that people are willingly ignorant. People have been willfully misguided about what it takes to achieve the American dream or to achieve freedoms in their own finances. And it's because almost everything that they are doing through being misguided is benefiting firms and other people who have put a lot of money into advertising how to keep these people asleep. The facts are, our firm, Legacy Insurance and Financial Education, the reason that it has to be that way is because we have to start thinking about legacy in the middle class and lower classes. If we keep thinking about how to get out of our own state of poverty or how to address our finances for this month or this weekend or this year, we can never break the cycle because it's too short term. You'll never have somebody buy a life insurance policy on their parents if they believe that the money that they're putting in there could be better used to turn up on the weekend. I spoke to one of my business partners the other day, and he said he had never really given consideration to the fact that when his parents pass away, he'll be an instant millionaire, which means the way that he was tackling debt and the way that he was tackling his bills and his personal finances right now was all wrong, because he could take much bigger risk. He could actually step out and be entrepreneurial. He could do things to create wealth right now and be willing to take larger risks to do so, because he has a guaranteed future promise of several $1 million coming to him when his parents pass away. But he was approaching it the way that most people do in the middle and lower classes, which is, I need to become debt-free, which means I need to put all of my wealth-building potential into my debt, which is robbing me of 10, 15 years of becoming debt-free. And then when I'm debt-free, I have no money to my name because all of my money went to my debt.
That was good.
So we have to conceptualize differently, and it starts with the education. We're more powerful than we know, but we've been taught that we're weak because we're in debt. We've been taught that we're weak because we have student loan obligations. We've been taught that we're weak because of so many things that should actually give us power, but the power has been taken from us because we've been misinformed.
Wow. Because, you hear good credit, and that's fine. Good credit, you need to have it, but it takes more than good credit. And I'm glad that you broke it down, because it takes more than that to really be wealthy, right? To really know how to save, to do it the right way. Because it is a, like you said, it's programmed in a certain way that we're doing it, and it's not the right way, right? Because it's the way that grandma did it or mama did it, but it's not. That's just not the right way.
It's the funniest thing ever. I see these things all the time that say, Would you rather have an 800 score or $100,000, right? And everybody who's the smartest in the room, they say, yeah, man, get that 800 credit score because, you know, you have $100,000 and, you know, you can do so much more with that 800 credit score. Well, what they don't realize is that they've been taught to do with the 800 credit score what they would never do with the $100,000. Because with the $100,000, they would never go and pay something off. They would pay off student loans. They would pay off debt, but they would never actually go buy an asset that is really worth, you know, $200,000 for take $50,000 down payment, put that on it, and take another $50,000 and revamp it and turn it into a $300,000 asset and turn that $100,000 into, you know, a $200,000 of real money. What they're thinking of when they say the 800 credit score is let me take that credit score and go get anything that I want financed, which means you're going into debt, and now you're lowering that credit score.
Right.
We don't believe that cash is king anymore. We believe that credit has somehow become king. What I tell people all the time is that the reason that they're willing to give you a $50,000 student loan is because they want your cash.
Right.
They're okay with giving you credit. You know what happens with credit? Credit can be wiped away. Credit can be charged off. You know, credit can be written down and wrote off. But nobody's going to – somebody can easily come and give you $20,000 worth of credit. Nobody's coming and giving you $20,000 of cash, hard cash money, and saying never pay me back. Mm-hmm. They want the interest that's built up on the credit. They want the interest that's built up on the debt. They want the interest. They want your real money to funnel back into their system. And they'll give you credit all day long for that. What they won't give you is cold, hard cash, which is why it's so much harder to get a business loan than it is to get a student loan.
Wow. Amazing nuggets. And you have went, you know, from insurance agent, financial advisor to life coach, right? This is coaching services that you do. Can you talk about some of the different coaching services that you offer as a life coach?
Yes. So I want to be very clear because I see it so much and it almost repulses me, right? A life coach is somebody that takes a person through a process that's transformative. Now, what I do, it's a life coach, but it's a legacy insurance and financial education coach. I'm not out here telling people how to hit the gym and wake up in the mornings and, you know, drink more water and, you know, create this life of abundance. Like I'm not that kind of coach. The reason I talk about legacy insurance and financial education coach is because that kind of coaching it's exact, it's precise. There is a dedicated role that I play in a person's life where I can take you from being worried and concerned about your finances to having financial abundance, creating a legacy, having a roadmap to create real wealth in your life. This idea of life coaching, traditional life coaching, I respect it, but I can't respect somebody saying that they're a life coach and they don't even have life experience. I didn't feel comfortable becoming a legacy insurance and financial education coach until I had enough years under my belt and I had a team of enough people who had years of experience that we could say we have a dedicated mission, a dedicated purpose to change people's financial lives forever.
That's amazing. And you built this team, right? You built a pretty much almost nationwide team. So what are some strategies that you took to build your team? Because, I mean, you're in, you know, the life insurance industry, that's not an easy industry. So what are some strategies that you took to build this amazing team that you have?
I got to say it was from my own personal experience. I was the Top Gun Field Advisory co-chair for Bankers Life and Casualty, which is under the umbrella of Conseco, which is one of the Fortune 1000 companies. I was a managing director for Guardian Life, so, you know, talking about a Fortune 250 company. And I was traveling. I was building relationships. I was working with different agents. I was on stage doing speaking engagements in the insurance industry and talking about financial advice. And I was doing that for so long that I had a lot of relationships I had built, a lot of mentors to me, people that I was mentoring, and just really solid people that I knew who I knew wanted to make a greater impact than just on their book of clients. They saw the opportunity to grow something bigger and to touch more lives, even if they could not see them face to face. They knew that they wanted to do it. And that's really where the Life Group came about. It wasn't just, let's build another financial planning firm, because there's more than enough of those. We wanted to build something that could tap into the unique qualities that we all bring to the table, the experiences that we all bring to the table, and then build something where it said, I can respect your business and not usurp your power in business, but I can capitalize on how well you do what you do, and we can come together and do it as a team. And that just made sense.
And, your people have, like you said, 10 or more years of experience, right? So everybody pretty much has been in the game a while. And so a lot of people, Some people get intimidated by collaboration, because I don't think people understand what effective collaboration is. That's the first thing. And, relationship currency is so important when getting to the next level. So with your collaboration with all of these great people, how do y'all manage to keep that balance there, with, everybody staying in their lane and knowing their role?
Because I respect what you do. One of the things that I can't do is be an attorney overnight that's a partner at a prestigious firm, or have built my own, investment advisory business where I'm managing, umpteen millions dollars, of people's client assets. Like I dabbled in those spaces, and I did my own building for a long time. But, to the point, when I decided to build the Life Group, I turned all of my assets under management over to our investment advisor. When I decided to build the Life Group, I looked at my client book of business for insurance, and I started working with Reese Insurance Advisors and Whitman Reese, who's our insurance arm of the firm. So, I don't think there's any such thing as collaboration without servant leadership. When you're going to collaborate with somebody, you have to serve them, and you have to show them that you're willing to take the lead on being that collaborator.
I like that.
I mean, that's how it started. That's how it started off. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's important. That's servant leadership. I think that's the key. Being able to serve first. I love that. So congratulations on your
serve the people.
Congratulations on your 15th anniversary in the life insurance industry.
Thank you so much. It came upon me. I didn't even I wasn't kind of prepared for it. I just looked up and I realized, like, whoa, we're here. Mama, I made it.
Yeah, you did. 100% commission, results driven every year. A lot of people couldn't, handle that. So tell us how you did it, because some people, you actually did it. You don't find many people that stay in that industry and actually, take those bumps in the road, the successes and the failures, and stick with it. But I found that very amazing, and I want to commend you for that.
Thank you. I would say the number one word, the top word that I can use to discuss that level of staying power is commitment. We do live in a very non-committal society. People can commit for a month. They might be able to commit for a year. But most things that people said they want, they're not truly dedicated to achieving them. And that's not an indictment on any one person. I think that's an indictment on how our society is now set up, where instant gratification is the rule instead of the exception. I think it used to be where one-hit wonders and people who, the Bill Gates of the world, they were seen as exceptional creatures. They were seen as people who dedicated a tremendous amount of their time to building. And now, especially with the advent of social media, we have this microwave society, and nobody wants to be oven baked anymore. They want it fast. I got into the insurance game never thinking that I was going to get rich quick. I never believed that I was going to be well off overnight. I never believed that somehow I was going to go out and work with a client and all of a sudden become a millionaire off of one high net worth client. It just doesn't work that way. You're working with a lot of clients. You're seeing a lot of appointments. You're working day in and day out, and you care about impact far more than you care about monetizing. Because if all you cared about was monetizing, you'd probably go out of business. So you have to have something deeper. And that commitment to people, that commitment to staying on the path and having that mental fortitude, I think you can achieve almost anything you want in life if you're loyal to your purpose and your calling.
Yes. And that's important, chasing the impact, because we do have a lot of social media entrepreneurs. And I agree with that. Some people want the quick, I've been in 2-3 months, I'm a millionaire, right? And they don't really want to do the work, but you can't win without doing the work. So I want to commend you for doing the work, right? So
you got to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah, you do. And that commitment is what you just talked about. That's so important, right? I think, people, you can tell when it's their purpose because, like you said, it wasn't about, becoming a millionaire tomorrow. It was your passion and your purpose to change lives. So please tell us more about your Life Changers book series. I know you have that going. Tell us more about that and how we can support it.
Yeah, man. LifeChangersVault.com. So I'll play on Life Changers Bank. Life Changers Vault. You can buy all 3 books in the Life Changers series right now. So there's Life Changers, 4 True Lies About Your Money. There's the Life Changers Debt Guide, Reclaim Your Money, the Debt Blueprint. And then there's a book that I wrote with a buddy of mine. He's in charge, I mentioned him before, he's in charge of the insurance arm of the firm, Whitman Reese. He wrote the foreword for this book. It's called The Entrepreneur's Retirement Blueprint. And the concept behind every Life Changers book is to put information that truly is life-changing in it. So I never wanted to walk away from having written a book that I didn't think somebody reading it would put it down and not, or like think for a minute, this did not change my life. Like this was just good information, but I already knew all that. I wanted each and every book to be one of those, oh man, like what? Wait a minute, I got to go research that. Like I wanted to share information with people because we've been misguided for so long about what life is supposed to look like, and so many people aren't living the lives that they truly want. So when you think about changing somebody's life, you're thinking about changing it for the better. Like I wanted that moment where, somebody comes up from the water, in a baptism, and they say, I'm seeing with new eyes. I wanted that moment in The Matrix where he takes the pill and he wakes up and his body is, he's got, his muscles don't work because he's never used them before. Like I wanted that moment of enlightenment. And especially, sadly, in this country, we don't have those moments too often because everybody is going to the beat of a drum and it's not their own drummer. So if I can do things to change people's lives with information and then follow that up with an actual process through our online content, our courses, and our coaching, then I'm more than willing to do that.
So for our listeners who are listening, please go support his Life Changers book series. Thomas is doing some amazing things, and he's consistently doing the work. And he also has another book called Successful Regardless, and I have a good friend that's in that book, and I was able to purchase you all's book, and I want to say it was an amazing book. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I have another company. My other company is Successful Regardless. Successful Regardless came about through my own life journey, the journeys that I saw people out here who were really, they were just molded in the mud. They came up having to endure things and going through things and making sacrifices that I felt very strongly that their story should be told. I wanted my story to be told. So I've written 2 books now through the Successful Regardless series and have a 3rd one coming out in December of this year. The first book is Cracked But Not Broken, which is my personal story, and you can go to successfulregardless.com and download these books. They're all ebooks. The second one is Stark Contrast, A Mirror Can Dream. So it's kind of a play on the American dream, but it's about looking at yourself in the mirror and understanding your journey through the perspective of what you've been through and who you are, and knowing that that's more than enough. So you don't have to subscribe to a dream that you've been told what it looks like and what it should be. You can actually cultivate your own dream. You can look in the mirror and say, I'm okay with myself, and I can stand up for my own calling. So that's what the Successful Regardless series is about. The book coming out in December is called Unconditional, and it's going to be the first book that I've ever written where it'll be laced with my poetry along with a lot of personal stories about overcoming emotional struggle. So I think so many times we talk about the actual struggles that we deal with, going through battles that we face out in the world. There are very few times where we talk about the emotional turmoil that we go through and finding ourselves through that emotional turmoil. So Unconditional will be dropping December 6th.
Well, listeners, make sure you support his Successful Regardless series as well. And what you stated about emotional turmoil, I agree with that, because a lot of people think they're okay, right? We take care of everything else, but we don't take care of ourselves, because when we know that things are not right for self-care, we do not want to admit to that, right? We don't want to take the necessary steps to make sure we're healthy inside and out. So look forward to your new book coming out on December 6th.
Thank you. Almost every book in the Successful Regardless series, it attacks in some way or touches on the idea of mental health in our community. What we have dealt with, we have over 16% of the African American community that is diagnosed as having mental health issues, and we're one of the most underdiagnosed cultures that's out here. So if you consider, and I tell people this all the time, if 1 out of every 5 people that you meet inside of our community has a mental health issue and it's not being called for what it is, then what you think is normal behavior, what we've normalized, is really trauma. And there's only so many generations that you can normalize trauma and come out healthy. So, bad relationships, situations with family members, there's so many things that we're just taking as granted, or we're saying somebody's crazy or somebody's not right, or this pedophile did that, or, and we're not truly digging into the root of the problem, which is our mental health.
And that's so true. And in that book that you've written, American Dream, I really enjoyed it because you all were very vulnerable with talking about your struggles, right? And you don't find a lot of, I'm just going to be honest, black men who are very open about their struggles and writing about their fears and trauma. So thank you for creating that space.
Absolutely.
So how did you create your seat at the table? I asked all my guests that question. I know you pretty much built your own table, but how did you create your seat at the table?
I don't like other people's cooking. So, just being honest, I'm the kind of guy that if I eat a really good plate of food, I'm going to respect you as the chef, but I'm probably going to ask for the recipe, and I'm probably going to dibble and dabble with it for a while and try to create something of my own. And that's not in the vein of not having respect for what somebody else has created, but I honestly believe I'm a Christian. I do believe that I was made in the image of God, and I believe that God did not make anybody to be somebody else's servant. And it's just very hard for me to conceive that we've created a culture, we've created a cultural norm where people are okay with spending 30 and 40 years of their life under the tutelage of somebody else because they had a great idea without ever exploring the great ideas that they've had themselves. God has planted a seed in all of us to do something. Uh-huh. Now, that something doesn't mean necessarily going out and being the next Elon Musk or going out and being the next, Jeff Bezos. It's not always this grandiose, everybody's going to be a multi-billionaire, everybody's going to this. But there's something that taps into your sense of potential and your ultimate sense of spiritual fulfillment. So when I think about this idea of a seat at the table, can I really be fulfilled if my daily activities are to build something that I don't believe in just because it gives me a paycheck? Can I truly be fulfilled if I'm not impacting other people's lives, or if I've been given a unique design for how to go about that process, and I'm not, knocking on that door every day? And that's why I say the people that are around me in the life group, the blessing that I have is that every one of them, they don't just own their business, but they came to be a part of the life group because they were already walking in their strength. They already had pulled their own seat up to the table. I didn't have to convince them that this is something that they're good at and maybe they should look into it. They were already desiring of that. So if you surround yourself with mindsets like that, then you'll always enjoy tapping into that creative space.
I love that, because your circle is everything, and everybody can't sit at your table, and that's what I want our listeners to know. You have to be, mindful of who's at your table and make sure they're bringing value. Mm-hmm. So what can we expect from you in the future? I know you have some great things that you're doing the rest of 2019. We're in quarter 3. So what can we expect from you the rest of 2019?
Well, like I said earlier, dropping the book Unconditional December 6th, Food Successful Regardless, but also just the life group, what we're doing, we're blazing. We have the online course. We have memberships that are growing. We're getting financial education out there. We're changing what it means to have a financial coach, a life coach in your corner. And we're just growing in that space. We have another membership model that's coming out in October called Multiple Streams of Income, how to build multiple streams of income. This current membership is the Life Path to Financial Freedom. We have Life Academy that'll be coming out at the beginning of next year, along with our conference that we hold every year. This past year was our first one, and we decided to make it an ongoing staple to help business owners and entrepreneurs map out their goals together in a great environment with great energy at one time, start the year off strong, and build our networks that way. So, everything that the Life Group is doing is to help the community grow. We have a faith and finances ministry. I speak at a lot of churches and assemblies around that growth model as well. And I think it matters that you not only have a vision, but you have a plan for that vision to come to fruition. And we do. We talk about it daily.
Well, congratulations on everything that you have going on with your company, the Life Group, with your books, with your series. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to come to the table today to share all this amazing wisdom and knowledge that you have shared with our listeners about, managing our finances and the importance of, having life insurance. Because that's a lot, like I stated, a topic people don't want to talk about. So I just want to thank you for doing that, and thank you for coming to the table.
No, Ashley, I want to thank you for creating a space where you can have people on to talk about their journey, but also for being willing to let people, occupy this space with what they have going on when you are already so very accomplished yourself. I appreciate the time. People can find me at Real Thomas J. Bean on Instagram and on Facebook. And just look out for more content. I want to bring high-value content to everybody and network with as many people and connect with as many people as possible.
I really believe that everybody can win, right? So that's the type of person I am. So I'm just excited to have people and experts on my show that can really give my listeners the successes and the failures and the actual strategies to help them become better in, different areas of their lives. So I just want to thank you again for being one of those experts that have been doing it, and not only just doing it and talking, but you actually do the work. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. So I would like to give a special thanks to Tammy Collins Marquis and John Schamberger. I would also like to give a special thanks to author Kimberly McLemore. And I would like to give a special thanks to my intern, Savon, from Virginia Commonwealth University, as well as my intern, Sarah, from Tennessee State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.